crystallization and recrystallization. There are two parts in this demonstration video. The first part demonstrates how to obtain copper 2 sulfate crystals from a hot saturated copper 2 sulfate solution. The second part demonstrates how to recrystallize benzoic acid with hot water. Crystallization. To obtain copper 2 sulfate crystals from a hot saturated copper 2 sulfate solution, heat the copper 2 sulfate solution to boiling and evaporate the solvent until the solution is saturated. Add a stirrer bar to the solution when heating to prevent flash boiling. To test whether the copper 2 sulfate solution reaches saturation, dip a glass rod into the saturated solution and then take it out. If the solution adhered on the glass rod solidifies readily, it means the solution is saturated. When the copper 2 sulfate solution reaches saturation, turn off the heater and place the beaker that contains the solution on the bench. Remove the stirrer bar from the hot solution with forceps. Cover the beaker with a clean watch glass. Let the solution cool down slowly without disturbance. If it cools too quickly, the crystals obtained will be very small in size. If the bench top is not made of heat-proof material that can withstand high temperature, place the hot beaker on a heat-resistant mat or ceramic tile. It is to avoid damaging the bench top. Put on gloves while handling the hot glassware to avoid heat burn. When the solution cools down to room temperature, crystallization of copper 2 sulfate is completed. If there is no crystal formed after cooling the solution to room temperature, the following methods may be used to induce crystallization. Scratch the inner wall of the beaker with a glass rod. Place the solution in an ice water bath. Add a tiny copper 2 sulfate crystal. Collecting and washing the crystals. First, use a spatula to scrape the crystals off from the inner wall of the beaker. And then collect the crystals from the mixture by suction filtration. Finally, collect the crystals on a clean dish or on a piece of filtered paper. Recrystallization. Using hot water to recrystallize benzoic acid. Add the benzoic acid sample to a conical flask. Then add a clean stirrer bar to prevent flash boiling. Add a small amount of water. Place the suspension on a hot plate and heat it to boiling. Add a small amount of water in several portions until the solid dissolves completely. To obtain a better yield, do not add excess water. Besides, you may use the following two methods to dissolve solid sample for recrystallization. Add a small amount of hot water in several portions to sample in a conical flask. until the solid dissolves completely. This method is simpler, but since the solution is not boiling, the yield is lower. Place the suspension on the hot plate and heat it to boiling. Add a small amount of hot water in several portions until the solid dissolves completely. This method can reduce the amount of time needed to dissolve the sample. Turn off the hot plate. Place the flask on the bench. Cover the conical flask with a clean watch glass. Allow the solution to cool down to room temperature slowly. Do not disturb the solution when the product crystallizes. If the solution cools too rapidly, the crystals obtained will be very small in size. When the solution cools to room temperature, the crystallization is completed. If there is no crystal formed after cooling the solution to room temperature, the following methods may be used to induce crystallization. Scratch the inner wall of the flask with a glass rod. Place the solution in an ice water bath. Add a tiny benzoic acid crystal. If necessary, hot filtration can be carried out to remove insoluble impurity. First, preheat a conical flask and a stemless filter funnel by placing them into an oven. Filter the hot and saturated benzoic acid solution in several portions. In the whole filtration process, the solution should be kept boiling. After finishing the hot filtration, allow the solution to cool slowly for the crystals to form. Collecting and washing the crystals. First, use a spatula to scrape the crystals off from the inner wall of the flask, and then collect the crystals from the mixture by suction filtration. Finally, collect the crystals on a clean dish or on a piece of filtered paper.